Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy, Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today, I've decided to kind of maybe do a little bit of a recap of some of the best stories we've talked about from training camp over the last few weeks. So I've got my 8 favorite training camp stories. We've also got a couple new stories to go over as well. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right. Good morning to you, Mark, Donald, Tresner, Best Ball on Call, Bach to the house. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you if you're also listening to the podcast. Again, you can find the Wake and Take podcast via the link in the description. Follow up from yesterday's episode. I promised that I would try lemon juice in black coffee. This was suggested. So here we go. Black coffee. This is black. You're proving it. And lemon juice. Here we go. I don't know how much I'm supposed to put in, so I'm just gonna kind of. That felt like a lot of lemon juice, but I'm gonna go with it. But here we go. Trying it live on camera. It tastes exactly how you think it would taste. It tastes like black coffee and lemon juice. It doesn't taste like one thing. It tastes like black coffee and also lemon juice. So that was fine. Thank you for the suggestion. That might have been a lot of lemon juice. I don't know, but it was fine. I will say one thing I realized yesterday when I was talking about how I don't really like my coffee black. I always drink iced coffee, and I think that I just don't like iced black coffee because I microwaved my black coffee this morning just to make it hot again, and it was fine. Actually, I don't mind hot black coffee. So maybe that's what I've been doing wrong. But anyway, lemon juice. Lemon juice. So guys, we've got some stuff to talk about today. Before we get into my 8 favorite training camp stories, I did want to break down a little bit of news for you guys. And as it's starting to become custom, that I'm going to try to pick like my favorite clip or highlight or just a little tweet or something for the day. And yesterday we have some more drum beats for my guy K9. You guys know I'll find any propaganda I can to support my Kenneth Walker love and appreciation. So here we go. Here's a clip of Ryan Grubb talking about what he's seen so far from Kenneth Walker at camp.
Seen out of Ken Walker, and how would you describe his game?
Man, I think Ken grows every day. I think he gets better every single day. I think the sky's the limit for him. I think he's a really, really talented, powerful back. That's a true like 3-tool guy. Like he's going to be able to run the ball every run you got. He's going to be able to catch the football. He's going to be able to pass protect, and I think he's growing. You know, he was a natural runner. He knew what to do with the ball in his hand, and now, you know, is intelligent in the pass protection scheme. He works really hard at it, man. I think he's getting a lot better, and he's electric out of the backfield as a pass catcher.
I mean, so everything that we have been expecting this offseason really about Kenneth Walker just being so much better than Zach Charbonnet, it's really not even close. All you have to do is go to PlayerProfiler.com and see how much better of an athlete Kenneth Walker is. When there's a new coaching staff coming in, they're going to, not have many ties to both people in the room. They don't care about Zach Charbonnet's draft capital. They care about who can help win them football games. And Kenneth Walker is an absolute beast. He's a completely different animal than Zach Charbonnet. In fact, he's a completely different animal than many running backs in the league. There was a reason last year, all of us as a fantasy community agreed he was the dynasty running back 1 at a point in time. Like you can go keep trade cut. That's where he was at a point in time around this time last year. And so I have been trying to scoop him up everywhere I can. And it's just nice to hear his head coach or offensive coordinator in this case kind of say the same thing. He has that 3-tool skill set. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. In fact, he's electric at doing it. And of course, he's just such a pure runner between the tackles, already incredible at that. So I'm just excited to see it. I really, really am very excited to see this season. Yeah, you should too. So there it is. There's my clip of the day. Ryan Grubb talking about Kenneth Walker. I've got two actual news stories for you. We'll start with, and they're both injuries, unfortunately, and they're both big injuries. So hopefully they don't end up being serious. But Christian McCaffrey has picked up a calf strain and has already been marked as out for the rest of preseason. Now, let's be honest here. Christian McCaffrey wouldn't have played in a preseason game even if he was healthy. So we shouldn't get too upset about that. In fact, it is seeming that this is a minor calf strain, so he should be fine. Like he should be fine. Kyle Shanahan said, Christian has a calf strain. He did it a couple days ago. It's all right. He didn't pull it or anything, but you probably won't see him this preseason. Then he was asked how long they're expected to keep him off the practice field, and he said probably a couple weeks. So unfortunately, of course, a calf injury or just an injury for an older running back is something you never want to see. On the bright side, it happened now. So I wouldn't get too upset. In fact, if he starts to slip in any, redrafts like on Best Ball or whatever, you can start getting him at the 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. That could be pretty excited. I doubt that happens. I really don't think this is going to have a big effect on his value. Now, if it comes out this is a serious calf sprain, which again seems like it's not, I feel like we would have heard that by now. Then of course then you can go and get him at a discount and perhaps even start fading him. But I think this will be fine. It's Christian McCaffrey. He plays through his injuries. We've still got a few weeks until the season. So I wouldn't get too, overreaction about this. Now, of course, Bias Hog says in the chat that his backup is a must-have. And I mean, this is how it always is. I mean, Christian McCaffrey has always had an injury history. So you could go get, I guess they brought in Matt Breida, but Jordan Mason is someone that seems to be the true starting running back behind him. And also Elijah Mitchell, which actually, after saying all that out loud, reminds me of what I've actually been doing with the 49ers backfield. And that is basically avoiding it, because it seems if Christian McCaffrey goes down, it's going to be a whole committee. Now, after that, someone might establish themselves, but I don't really want to pick one now. In Dynasty, I'll take Cody Schrader. Just because he has the pass catching skill set and he was a really, really good producer in the SEC. He actually has some massive upside in the wake of a Christian McCaffrey injury. But, Isaac Guerrero unfortunately injured a major hamstring injury. That one's looking like he might not even have any action this season as it continues, at least not towards the second half of the season. So yeah, I agree to the house. Actually, it's just going to be a committee if he goes down. So don't really try to get cute and pick one. That's going to be a crowded roster spot that you just don't really need on your team. It's about managing your bench at the end of the day. And yeah, sure, you could get a good week out of one of these 49ers backups, but if McCaffrey goes down, you're not actually going to be starting Matt Breida, Elijah Mitchell, or Jordan Mason, unless you've seen it happen first. But I don't think it will. I think it will be a committee. That's what they've done in the past. They kind of cycle in the dudes. So if you want one, I think it's going to be Cody Schrader, just because of the upside there. Like, he might not see the field, right? Cody Schrader might literally not see the field, which means you could just drop him. Or we will see the field and, establishes himself as the better backup, the better pass catching backup for sure. Just obviously not the speed that some of the other guys have, but that's fine, So yeah, I think it'll be, Deebo Samuel and all of the running backs, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, Matt Breida, maybe Cody Schrader kind of getting some action if Christian McCaffrey goes down. So don't really try to pick a backup. The next injury, unfortunately, is Sam LaPorta. This one, of course, as we say all the time, is more serious. Now, it is a minor injury, supposedly, but Sam LaPorta has picked up a hamstring strain. As we say, you just don't want to see hamstring injuries. I don't care if it's minor. You just don't want to see hamstring injuries. Now, the same thing could be said here with, as I did with Christian McCaffrey. We're still more than a few weeks away from the season, so he's not really going to play preseason. But he's now missed 2 straight practices, not expected to play in next week's game. And there's no other news. Right? Dan Campbell hasn't really said anything. All he said is he doesn't expect it to be a long-term issue, and they haven't even come out and ruled him out for the preseason yet. So you just the issue here is it's a hamstring strain. No one's come out and said, "Oh, this is a serious hamstring strain." In fact, the fact that no one's come out and officially ruled him out for even I think it's tomorrow's preseason game, maybe Friday's preseason game, should hopefully lead us to believe that it is a minor hamstring strain, but still. Hamstring injuries linger. They tend to get more severe as time goes on. So all we can hope to hear is that they're resting Sam LaPorta. I don't want to hear any news about Sam LaPorta at practice the rest of this training camp. I don't want to see him out of practice. I don't want to see him in a preseason game. I don't want to see him even working out in the gym, really. I want him to keep that hamstring loose or keep stretching it, whatever. Like, just stay at home and stretch and maybe catch some passes off the jugs machine, but don't go out there trying to re-injure yourself. That's where the really big issues come with the hamstring. So hopefully it is minor. There's not, I mean, like, do you really want Brock Wright? No. So really the big takeaway here is Jahmyr Gibbs, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If anything happens to Sam LaPorta, that just means more targets for the other Lions guys, so hopefully it's fine. Again, no one's come out and said this is a big hamstring injury, like we need to be worried. So that should hopefully give us some sort of optimism when it comes to this thing. And yeah, Tresner says just get some Cordo shots and get back out there. Maybe. It's harder to do that with hamstrings. That's why I'm a little worried. Hamstring injuries, like we've said, they just linger. They just linger, and then they can get severe very, very quickly. This is a good point. It's a hamstring injury. They just keep happening. Like, they happen in camp, right? So we'll see how it develops. I'm not going to recommend going to pick up Brock Wright. Just, if you have your other Lions, congratulations in the fact that they might get extra targets. But hopefully it's just not that big of a deal and Sam LaPorta's out there. That's what we really want here. That's what we really want to happen here. But hey, if you want out of Sam LaPorta, if this makes you nervous, I'll say it again. Go get Kyle Pitts plus. I really think that Kyle Pitts is ready for a huge, huge season. Everything's pointing towards that. You're going to get a ton of production out of him, and it seems you get a really nice cherry on top if you do want to move on from LaPorta. Not saying you should. So, but, you can't. You can't, because I really don't think that Sam LaPorta actually, in fact, the big thing that actually makes Sam LaPorta a sell, which sell in a different term, not sell in that he's bad, but sell in that he's so highly valued. If you go to keep trade cut, and let me refresh because some reason I only had it set to the quarterbacks, but you can actually see that his player value is really, really high. He's player rank 24. And if you actually go look at the tight end 2, which I believe is McBride right now, he is player 43. So there are 20 players in between Sam LaPorta and the next tight end, Trey McBride, which is huge. Like, that is a huge, huge discrepancy when it comes to value. So like I mentioned, Pitts again, when it comes to Sam LaPorta, that's player 51. So that's just so much value in between the two. Yes, he deserves to be dynasty tight end 1, but does he deserve to be a top 24 dynasty player? That's where I think we have to kind of come to our own choice there. And I would say no. I would just say, he should be valued pretty closely to the other tight ends in Dynasty, not so far apart. So maybe you can move on from him at the end of the day. Tresner already closed keep trade cut, but Kelsey, I believe, is in the 60s or 70s. But again, so like you could just get a lot of value for Sam LaPorta if you do want to move on. I mean, he's young and he's still an incredible tight end, so you probably shouldn't. But a path to take for me would be Kyle Pitts. He's only a few months older than Sam LaPorta, Kyle Pitts is, and has more yardage as a rookie. Had a better rookie season, at least in the yardage department. So maybe it's Kyle Pitts time, which, is one of my top camp stories. So stick around for that. Before we get to my top 8 training camp stories, let's go ahead and hear from the Podfather about let's do the injury finder as we're talking about some injuries.
Hey, you're in your fantasy draft and someone says, hey, that guy's injury prone. I don't want him. And you're like, I don't know. I don't think you can predict injuries. Well, guess what? Now you can. Injury proneness is real. At Player Profiler, we have the data on these players, and it's all in the Injury Finder app. Their injury track record back through time, exactly where they were injured, how severe it is. We look at the BMI data, and we crunch it all together, and we give you probabilities that a player will miss multiple games this NFL season, as well as the complete database of NFL injuries and the ability to compare two players and look at their injury track record. The Injury Finder is powerful, and it's only $5. If it's worth it to have that peace of mind when you're drafting, go get it.
Go get that. Injury Finder really helps you stay ahead of the curve and predict some of these injuries. And our data team did a really, really great job putting together that algorithm and creating all the data for that app. So go get the Injury Finder. All right, guys, I have got 8 training camp stories for you guys. I'll start with the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans. they're going to pass. And of course, we already knew this. This has been one of just the big offseason stories, but now we're seeing it happen at training camp. And, that's going to be a trend for a lot of these 8 NFL training camp stories. This is going to be a trend that's building throughout the offseason that has now bubbled up in the training camp and really, really solidified itself as something that is going to be happening this season. This Titans pass attack is going to be top 10 in pass attempts. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they're top 5. In fact, why not just go ahead and say they'll lead the NFL in pass attempts? Everything that the Titans have been doing this offseason signals that they want to throw the ball. Bringing in Tony Pollard to replace Derrick Henry to have alongside Tyjae Spears, bringing in Calvin Ridley, shoring up the secondary, using your first-round pick on offensive line, hiring Brian Callahan, who has led the Bengals as the offensive coordinator to be top 8 in pass attempts in back-to-back seasons. They're going to be passing the ball. So what kind of makes me excited? Well, let's go ahead and just take a look at some of the stories that are bubbling up. And we'll start with just what happened all the way back in January when Brian Callahan was hired. He actually talked about how I'll just play the video. Why don't I just play the video? I've got a little bit of a press conference here. Brian Callahan talking about Will Levis back in January. This is what he had to say.
I thought that Will was a really good player coming out of college. And I thought when you watch him play this year, you saw really growth. I mean, you saw him learn. The NFL is hard. It's hard on quarterbacks. It's particularly hard on young ones. And so I saw a lot of really positive things. Some of the throws, some of his competitive instincts that he put on tape were really impressive. And so I'm excited to get to dive more into that and how can he get better from year 1 to year 2 and keep putting him in position to have success. And so we can score some points on offense.
So Brian Callahan basically saying there that Will Levis was a quarterback prospect he liked in last year's draft, and that basically he wants to build this offense around him, and he's excited to help him take that next step as a passer. Well, July 25th, Brian Callahan, of course, had another interview, and this was after some training camp practices, and he said, man, he's been really impressive. He's dialed in. He's studied. You can just tell he's ready for what's ahead. I told him yesterday if he keeps stacking days like he had yesterday and today, he's going to play really good football. So, of course, now he's backing him up after some great practice days. And we heard, earlier in the offseason as well, Will Levis said, hey, what's the difference between this Titans offense and last year's? And he said, hey, I'm being asked to throw on first down. And this playbook has so many passing plays. So it is really going to be a very pass-heavy offense. And, even a couple days ago, when they brought out the new depth chart, it just shows all the pass catchers on it. But then also Tyjae Spears and Tony Pollard listed as co-running back ones. That, why is that a passing move? Well, again, these are pass-catching running backs. And Callahan has said all offseason that they want to use them interchangeably, not only as runners, but as pass catchers. So again, this team is going to pass the ball just so much. And if you're just not sold on Will Levis yet, I've got 2 clips for you. Just some incredible throws he's been making in camp. Here is the first one. This is just some really, really good placement from Will Levis. And it's like he's not even trying. So many buttons to click. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that. Literally just he's like throwing it down, just like a flick of a wrist, not even looking really. And it's just perfectly placed into Tyler Boyd's hands while he can continue running. Another player, by the way, the Titans brought in from Brian Callahan's system in Cincinnati. They are going to be passing the ball a lot. But just, again, incredible placement from Will Levis. He's taking strides as a passer. But check out this one as well. This is just a deep shot to, I believe it was Tony Pollard. Check this out as well. Play action. And then look at that. Never mind. To Burke. It was to Burke. Traylon Burke catching a pass and without that. But just look at that tight spiral. Look at the high air. And then perfectly Traylon Burke. Just incredible throw by Will Levis. And he has been making throws like that all training camp. So it really, really is time to get excited about Will Levis. Now, next player I want to talk about, and I'm sure you already know where I'm going. You probably know the rest of my stories, really. But we're, of course, going to be talking about the J-Mo breakout. The Jameson Williams breakout is happening. And it started all the way back in May at the voluntary OTAs. Dan Campbell said, we're 2 practices into OTAs, and if you said, give me one player that's the most improved from start to finish in that time, J-Mo would be that guy right now. He's a man on a mission. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then on the first day of training camp, he puked mid-stride after finishing a touchdown catch. Of course, took that knee, wiped off the puke, went right back to work. And then we start getting beat reports about how incredible Jameson Williams is looking, whether it be highlight catches, separating, getting deep, being a dog and doing the throw up thing. It's still early, but at this point, Jameson Williams is firmly entrenched as one of the guys. This is the best I've seen him look with Jared Goff. Williams has been getting open against the secondary routinely. He's been getting the ball on end arounds. He's coming off the sideline after the series and picking the brain of Jared Goff or Ben Johnson. He's ready. He is ready. Jameson Williams, what did Dan Campbell say? This is the most confident that I've seen him since he's been here. He came in with the right mindset when we started this offseason, and that has not waned one bit. He's in a good place. Okay, some more hype. Breakout star Lions offensive coordinator says we haven't seen anything Jameson Williams can't do. We started feeling it towards the end of last year, and he's taken that to another level in the springtime and also so far here in training camp. Jameson Williams is ready to break out this year. He's showing up at training camp. He's, getting the coach's praise. We've seen him break out last year, 2 touchdowns in the NFC Championship. We talked about it. There's an episode from a couple weeks ago where I just ranted for literally 18 minutes about Jameson Williams. He's improved as a blocker, as a route runner, as a catcher, everything. And his head clearly is in the right place. You wouldn't get these quotes from coaches if they're not. He's clearly working hard and doing everything he can to break out in year 3. So I'm excited to see it. I mean, you guys know it. I'm very excited about Jameson Williams. I have him everywhere, and the breakout is finally here. He's not a bust. He's not a bust. And, to the people that say, hey, there's just not a lot of volume to go around, outside of LaPorta, outside of Amon-Ra, outside of Jahmyr Gibbs, I disagree. Jared Goff threw the ball 605 times last year. 605 times, so second most in the NFL. Sam LaPorta had 100 of those targets, 120 of those targets. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 164 of those targets, and Jahmyr Gibbs had 71 of those targets. So some quick maths right there. That is 355 targets divvied up between those 3 last year. So that means that there was still 250 targets available in this offense last year. Now, of course, some more of those are going to go to Gibbs, maybe some more to LaPorta, maybe some more to Amon-Ra. But still, 200 targets still available in this offense outside of that, right? Like, that is so much volume to go around, even if he is 4th, which I think he'll be 3rd. I think Jameson Williams gets more targets than Jahmyr Gibbs. I really do. He's going to have over 100 targets this year, Jameson Williams is, and he's firmly entrenching himself as the wide receiver 2 on this offense. It's going to be awesome. He has the athleticism. It's incredible. It really, really is credible. Get him on your team while you still can. The breakout is happening. Another great story from this offseason is Justin Fields taking control of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Now, of course, it started this offseason. The Steelers cleaned out the QB room. Trubisky's gone. Mason Rudolph's gone. Kenny Pickett's gone. How do they replace those? Well, they bring in Russell Wilson on a veteran minimum contract, and they trade a 6th-round pick for Justin Fields to the Chicago Bears. Now that 6th-round pick could become a 4th-round pick if he plays more than half of the snaps this season. Quickly, it was announced that Russell Wilson was in pole position by both Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin, referring to him being the quarterback 1 as of now, but also leaving the window open for someone to take that from him. They never announced him the quarterback 1. They just said he's leading. They wanted to create a competition. They made it they wanted to make it seem like a race. And they've done that because Russell Wilson was getting all the first-team reps until he wasn't. He picked up a calf strain, missed 3 days of practice, and Justin Fields got all the first-team reps and did everything right. Completing deep shots, scrambling, making the intermediate throws, building a truly awesome connection with him and George Pickens. And then Russell Wilson returns, and what happens? They start splitting the first-team reps. And in fact, Justin Fields starts getting more of the first-team reps than Russell Wilson, and in fact, looks better than Russell Wilson now per all the beat reports. And now people are coming out saying that they expect Justin Fields to start week 1, and that they might not even expect Russell Wilson to be on the roster if that happens, because Russell Wilson doesn't want to be a backup. It's very, very interesting stuff developing here in Pittsburgh, and it's what we should have expected all along. You're talking about an electric playmaker here, Justin Fields. Yes, he's not the greatest passer in the world, but he still took strides last year. He still did. He had his career high in pass yards, completion percentage, pass attempts in only 13 games, and he finished top 12 in deep ball accuracy and under pressure accuracy rating. He did everything he could last year behind a bad offensive line, with cycling offensive coordinators, with a bad head coach and Matt Eberflus. Justin Fields, he's going to be the quarterback 1 for the Steelers. The cat is out of the bag now, and the Steelers can't put him back in. It's too exciting. He's making too many plays. He's going to have a touchdown run in preseason, and it's going to be over. You're going to see the terrible towel spinning. You're going to hear the Justin Fields chants. It really is time. He's taking control of this quarterback room. Justin Fields is quarterback 1 on this team. He's done it. It's going to stay that way. And the best part is that he's looked best with the pads on. He looked worse before the pads came on, and then they came on, and he started looking better. So it's really happening. It really, truly is happening. Justin Fields is the quarterback here. He really is. Again, not the worst passer in the world. He really isn't. I really think that we need to give him more credit because again, career best last year and all the metrics that matter in his first season with a wide receiver, like a true wide receiver. So I can't believe it. I can't believe it at all. He took steps forward last year. He had no help really outside of DJ Moore. Terrible offensive line, terrible offensive scheme. Now goes to an offense with Arthur Smith that, say what you want about him, for the rest of the weapons on the offense, has been pretty conducive to quarterback success. It's going to be a really nice system. And at the very least, he's going to score us fantasy points. So get Justin Fields on your team. The next bit we have for you is Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers is as advertised. He really is a true stud. Of course, that's going to happen. He had 1,600 yards last year. He had 14 receiving touchdowns. He was the 6th overall draft pick after absolutely crushing it at his pro day. Malik Nabers is a true stud. We've got some quotes for you. And really, it's just some of the recent ones just from the Lions training camp, because I'll play some highlights. But first, he dominated the Giants cornerbacks daily to open training camp, and this week a new challenge came against the Detroit Lions in joint practices. Nabers proved that his success against his teammates wasn't a fluke, as he routinely torched Lions cornerbacks in 2 straight practices. Then Connor Hughes tweets out, the Giants threw to Malik Nabers 17 times versus the Lions on Monday and Tuesday in both 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s. He caught 16 of those 17 passes and scored 2 touchdowns of 20 or more yards. Like I've said, the rookie is absurd. Never personally seen someone so dominant so early. I've got 3 highlights for you guys just to bring home the point of how good he is looking right now and how much of a stud he's being at camp. Here's the first one. Let me rewind that for you. Just looks so good. Kind of tight coverage, gets open, gets to catch it at the back quarter, the end zone. Here's the next highlight for you guys. Another touchdown. I mean, I really don't know what more you want from this guy. He is crushing it right now. Here is another highlight for you guys. This one was ruled not a catch, but you'll clearly see it was a catch. Just in traffic, both feet down. It's just incredible. Some of the things this man has been able to do so far in training camp, and you just got to get him. This guy is a stud and a half. I don't have much more to say. He's incredible. Malik Nabers is just incredible. Nothing else to say. The next story we have for you guys revolves around the Patriots rookie wide receivers, and that is this new Pats regime can draft wide receivers. They can do it. They have got the monkey off the back. I am totally in on Jalen Polk. I'm totally in on Javon Baker. We already saw the quotes this offseason following the draft. Javon Baker said he's 7'11", always open. He said he makes people in wheelchairs stand up. I mean, he was a quote factory. And then you just start getting quotes from camp, and it's just great stuff. Javon Baker, it's worth repeating, simply moves different from the rest of the receivers. He boasts more burst and sprints almost with a non-contact form of violence. Javon Baker made a couple of nice plays with May. First, he reached out to save a sailing throw. Next, he utilized nifty footwork to get out of his break on a crossing route. It's a very small sample, but Baker distinguished himself and was one of the best players of the morning. Then some stuff about Jayden Polk. Jayden Polk seems to have earned the trust of the coaching staff. He was one of the first wide receivers on the field in 11-on-11s and spent time with the projected top offense. Those chances came with a couple of catches, and the second-round pick already looks comfortable running routes in an NFL offense, something that stood out about him in the spring. The eyes have said for weeks that Jayden Polk is a smooth, sudden mover with the necessary twitch to separate, but he wasn't landing on the practice box score during team drills until recently. In the 2 minicamp sessions, he has come alive. Polk has 5 catches in 2 sessions, including the walk-off touchdown and a crafty stick nod route. Jayden Polk has been featured with other regulars in the Patriots offense as a reliable underneath target. He's also made a few downfield grabs, showing off those strong hands and body control in contested situations. Most of his catches are quick outs and in breakers at the first 2 levels. From this perspective, he's a Jacoby Myers clone, winning with sudden release and fluidity at the top of routes to glide through breaks. The young wide receivers. For years, the Patriots have struggled to properly find and develop young wide receivers through the draft. Time will tell whether their recent investments will break this trend, but the early signs are encouraging. Rookies Jayden Polk and Javon Baker have performed well thus far in camp. And yeah, they look good. They just look good. I mean, everyone is raving about how good they look at camp right now. Both Javon Baker, both Jayden Polk, they're going to be very, very good parts of this offense. Now, of course, it's not like they're going to have massive ceilings in year one. Like, this is still, at the end of the day, going to be a bad offense. But they're doing everything right and setting themselves up to be a really, really good dynasty asset. So I would recommend getting these guys before it's too late. And I don't mind taking shots on them in redraft as well, because they could break out towards the end of the year. I do think it's going to take Drake May to come in to truly unlock the ceiling of these guys. Jacoby Brissett is a good quarterback, but he is just a game manager at the end of the day. And if he's going to be spreading it around, I don't think there'll be a true alpha with him. And not that I think that'll be the case with Drake May. I just think Drake May will bring an exciting element to the offense that Jacoby Brissett just can't. So I want to get in these guys before Drake May is announced the starter and before he takes over. And either way, I want them now. Like, you need to get them. You need to get them on your team. They look good. And I really do think the Patriots have got the monkey off their back, and they are ready. They are ready to break out in year one. Next, we have Jayden Daniels. We talked about Malik Nabers being as advertised. Well, Jayden Daniels is as advertised as well. You can go look up highlights if you want. I mean, they're out there. He's making big runs. He's making great throws. He's, doing, studying well, picked up the offense quickly. Everything you want to hear about Jayden Daniels so far at training camp is exactly what you've heard. And in fact, he's even exceeding some of the high expectations that were placed on him after being a Heisman-winning quarterback. Dan Quinn on Jayden Daniels said, "I had high expectations coming in, but he surpassed those." He went on to say that it's the decision-making that I've been really impressed by. Not just the throwing, but playing the position. So there's your skill work and then the processing work. And the processing part for him has been excellent. And then you hear Zach Ertz say, a lot of times you talk about rookies and it's like, this guy's going to be really good. Jayden is good now. And we're hearing quotes from that from all of his teammates. Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler, everyone is raving about how good Jayden Daniels has looked early. So I'm in. I've been in, right? I mean, you want Konami code quarterbacks, even with the injury concerns, you ignore those. Players get hurt. So you've just got to get Jayden Daniels. Again, one of the bigger things I think you should be doing in Dynasty right now is taking Caleb Williams and getting Jayden Daniels plus. There is no reason for Caleb Williams to be valued as highly as he is right now. He needs to show us that he can do it first. And I know the Hard Knocks hype is already going to make Caleb Williams' value get even higher. So just do it. Get Jayden Daniels on your team right now. Not valued that highly at all. You can get him for a pretty reasonable price. And I mean, he's got the coaching staff. I like Dan Quinn as a head coach. And even at his time in Atlanta, I know it ended poorly, But I mean, like, he really did get those guys to buy into the team and come into work every day with passion. You know, he had the brotherhood thing. And then, of course, Cliff Kingsbury comes in. Say what you want about him as a head coach. He's a pretty damn good offensive coordinator, at least for scoring fantasy points. And so with the weapons, with the better offensive line, with the new scheme, I'm really expecting this Commanders offense to be pretty decent. I want a lot of these pieces, and it's going to start with Jayden Daniels looking as advertised. And that is just everything you want to hear. It's incredible stuff. It really, really is. Get him on your team now. I know it took a while for him to break out in college, but it doesn't matter. He's in the NFL now, and he's got everything to help succeed, and he's looking incredible. So Jayden Daniels, everything as advertised, and maybe even more. My 7th news story is going to be Kyle Pitts. I mentioned that this was one of my stories, and it's looking like he will finally be the unicorn he was drafted to be. And that's exactly what Drake London said. He says that Kyle Pitts is going to showcase the unicorn he really is. Tyler Algier says ever since this offseason, he's had that edge. He's been doing his thing, just balling. Then head coach Raheem Morris says that Kyle Pitts is going to be a focal point of what we do. Zach Robinson says that the Atlanta Falcons plan to play him as both a tight end and a wide receiver this season. And then he says that especially in the red zone, Kyle Pitts has looked great at training camp. And then we hear this tweet: Kirk Cousins found Kyle Pitts time and time again. They connected on a number of different routes that resulted in 4 catches through a few 11-on-11 periods. One in particular saw Cousins throw a dime to Pitts as he tiptoed down the sideline. And then, lastly, you get the roommate narrative from Kyle Pitts as well. He's in a same room as Kirk Cousins, as Michael Penix, as Taylor Heineke. He is the 4th man there. They clearly want to get him involved. There's been tons of talk all offseason about how they finally want to use him creatively and to finally tap into the athleticism he has. And so I'm just, again, like all these others, I'm just excited to see it. We have been waiting and waiting and waiting 1,000 years as a rookie, injured in year 2, and then in year 3 had terrible quarterback play, but also was not 100%. This year is 100%. This year he's getting the quarterback upgrade, and this year he's finally ready to establish himself as the alpha he is. Do not be surprised when he outproduces Drake London next season. Get Kyle Pitts on your dynasty team. I've got one more training camp story for you guys, but before we get into it, I see a few questions in the chat, and I wanted to end the show on my last training camp story. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll and go through here and see what you're talking about. Love Stars, you've got to draft Kyle Pitts. You can't let the past burn you. This is what's happened with me and Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey burned me 2 years in a row. I never drafted him again, and now I feel sad. I do agree Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in the class. Don't make any mistakes about it. I do not think Malik Nabers is better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will have more targets. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will have more yards. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is being slept on for no reason right now. I really don't understand it. Some people are saying that Trey McBride will outperform Marvin Harrison Jr. this year, and that is some of the most ridiculous shit I've ever heard. Get Marvin Harrison Jr. It's incredible how easy he is to get right now, based on the profile and player he is. I just don't get it. Anyway, I saw a lot of stuff. It looks like it was a bit back, but Josh Downs is apparently injured. And someone asked if I would rather have Jelani Woods or Adonai Mitchell. It's an ankle injury, it looks like. Honestly, it seems that I would rather have Jelani Woods, to be completely honest with you. Josh Downs kind of takes over the middle of the field, these intermediate routes, and that's exactly how they use the tight ends in this offense. I really do believe Adonai Mitchell is just there to stretch the field this year. They're not going to use Adonai Mitchell like they use Josh Downs. So I want Jelani Woods in terms of this injury. As we saw last year, it was over 800 yards, over 100 targets, and I believe like 4 touchdowns between all of the tight ends last year on the Colts. Jelani Woods has the actual athleticism, has the actual size to be an alpha in that tight end room. So that's who I would want. I want the person in the exact same part of the field to replace that person. So yeah, I really don't. Adonai Mitchell isn't taking over Josh Downs' role, and I'm not saying that Jelani Woods is, but they need someone to take over the middle of the field and these shorter routes and stuff like that, and that's going to be the tight end. So yes, I'm going to go with Jelani Woods to take Josh Downs' targets. Do I want Adonai Mitchell? Yes. I don't understand how this is the worst take you've heard all offseason. Adonai Mitchell is good. But he's taking Alec Pierce's job. He's not taking Josh Downs' job. That's not how things work. The reason, to say Adonai Mitchell is going to take over Josh Downs is like saying Quentin Johnston is going to take over for Mike Williams. You can't just put a receiver somewhere because that's how they are on the depth chart. You still need to lean into a player's skill set and what they bring to the field. Adonai Mitchell isn't a slot receiver. That's not who he is. He's over 6 feet tall. He runs a super good 40-yard dash, and he's not very agile. That's not a slot receiver profile. The reason he was drafted is because Alec Pierce is terrible. Alec Pierce had the 7th most routes amongst wide receivers last year. And had the 70th most targets. He does not earn targets. He can't catch the ball. He had a less than 50% catch rate. That's why Adonai Mitchell was drafted, to replace Alec Pierce. He's going to be the other wide receiver on the outside alongside Michael Pittman. Josh Downs was supposed to be on the inside. There's no, I don't know who it is behind Josh Downs. I would have to check the Colts. So I would say that Jelani Woods benefits more. I would say Jelani Woods benefits more from Josh Downs getting injured. It's true. We'll just have to see it. The Colts tight ends, how about that? How about I just say that? The Colts tight ends benefit more from a Josh Downs injury than an outside receiver. An outside receiver who is still fighting Alec Pierce. He was drafted to replace Alec Pierce, but it hasn't even happened yet. We've been seeing the reports that they're both getting these first-team reps and no one separated themselves yet. And the reason Adonai Mitchell fell in this draft is because he's a project and was going to take some time. I want Adonai Mitchell, don't get me wrong, but that isn't how the law of the conservation of targets goes. You don't just give all of the intermediate slot receiver targets to the wide receiver 2 on the outside. That is not how it works. It's going to go to the other players on the inside. Maybe Jonathan Taylor catches some more passes. Maybe Michael Pittman catches some more passes, but it's not just going to go to Adonai Mitchell. So anyway, yes, I do believe the tight ends are the ones that would benefit from a slot receiver injury, not the wide receiver 2, 2.5, 3 on the outside. But wishing all the best to Josh Downs. Hopefully it's not a major injury. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the injury is. So this could all be for nothing. But yes, you guys are fired up in the chat right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. Baker Mayfield hurt his thumb. Cool. I don't know. It said that there was a bad trade somewhere, but I don't know what this trade is. Where's this bad trade? I agree that Nabers gets 150 targets this year, but so does Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is awesome. Anyway, I'm done. Yeah, but Nabers is not better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm with you, Tresner. I don't have short-term memory loss. That's my least favorite thing about fantasy football. That is my least favorite thing about fantasy football in our space. Is just because Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't participate in the pre-draft process, he's not good anymore? Are you kidding me? This is a player that we have been waiting to draft in fantasy football since he was a freshman at Ohio State. This was a player that has done nothing but produce. And yet, because he didn't really take part in the pre-draft process, we have forgotten who he is. It's ridiculous. I just don't get it. I don't understand. I'm getting all the Marvin Harrison Jr. I can right now. But anyway, I have one more training camp story for you guys. The 8th training camp story, the biggest one, in fact, and that is that Quentin Johnston is still bad at football.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, Data Analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.